From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
The search for an MSU grad missing near the mountains in Red Lodge ready to enter a new phase. What the charge of the search is coming up.
For 2 nights in a row, the Goose fire has increased in size by more than 1,000 acres. I'm Cody Boyer in Madison County, taking another look at the fire and what crews are doing to prepare the community as it continues to grow.
6:30 on this Wednesday. Chet Lehman, Matt Elwell with you here. Sun peeking over the hill there into the mining city. Still a little haze. Jimi Hendrix haze there on the horizon. It was
the purple haze?
Yeah, it was a little purple, yeah. Thanks for knowing the reference. I appreciate that.
No worries. I don't think I was alone. I think a lot of people got it. Yeah.
It's what it reminded me of.
That's right. The temperature's a lot more comfortable. I think these cooler temperatures certainly help fire efforts this morning. Humidity a little higher, temperatures a little cooler, and the wind really not a big issue to start the morning. Air quality much better for most of the area. We can actually see the hills and mountains in southwest Montana for the time being. Temperatures today should be into the mid 80s. We do have some warmer temperatures on the way. In fact, downright hot. We're going to break that down from the Billion Auto Group weather patio coming up here in about 13 minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. 6:31 now. City of Bozeman declaring a stage 2 drought and enacting mandatory outdoor watering restrictions. The goal is to cut city water use by 20%. Lawn watering limited to 2 days a week and prohibited between 10 o'clock in the morning and 6 p.m. Now, even numbered addresses may water on Sundays and Thursdays. Odd number addresses may water on Saturdays and Wednesdays. Commercial and government buildings may water on Tuesdays and Fridays. Trees, shrubs, and garden plants may be hand watered any day of the week. City Water Conservation Manager Jessica Ahlstrom says during the summer, 50% of city water actually goes to watering lawns and plants. While more crews are working to keep the Goose fire south of Ennis from spreading far enough to damage homes, MTN's Cody Boyer was back into the area in southern Madison County and has our update.
It's a situation that began back on the 1st of July. Fast forward to this point, the Goose fire has burned more than 3,300 acres just 32 miles southeast of Ennis, closing down several campgrounds and raising many questions from the community. So, those actively fighting that fire met with the community via the Goose Fire Facebook page to catch them up to speed.
The exceptionally dry conditions, the very hot conditions over like 4-day windows, we don't see those ending anytime soon.
So it's been quite a while since we've seen much moisture, and you can tell that out there where they're dozing, it is powder dry.
Dry and long haul. Key words focused on dozens of times by emergency management and firefighting crews over the course of a virtual hour.
We're setting new records every day for dryness.
This incident is going to be a long-term event, meaning it's going to be out here on the landscape for the duration of our fire season.
In just 4 days, the Goose fire spiderwebbed its way from 300 acres to more than 3,800, stemming from what Northern Rockies Incident Management Team 5 believes was a bolt of lightning. With no end in sight of record-setting dryness that is around a month early, each speaker says this is far from over.
We're seeing mid-season fire behavior in the early part of the season is the bottom line here.
Nearly 200 personnel working at a fire prone to expanding by around 1,000 more acres each night, creeping along Hidden Lake and towards the Hoodoo Pass.
We actively have all of our incident management teams engaged on incidents throughout North Idaho, Central Idaho, and Montana. You can imagine resources are stretched thin.
To put it to perspective, the team adds the area hasn't seen ground-wetting rain since May 26th, nearly 2 months. While no structures are threatened yet, Emergency Management Director Joe Brummel says the possibility is becoming more likely.
Came up with a couple trigger points to where if something were to happen, we'd have plenty of time to react, not only for a warning and also for an actual full-scale evacuation.
Each reminds of the Goose Fire Facebook page's usefulness for updates, and that this is not the last public meeting.
Here in Madison County, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
In other updates this morning, hot, dry weather, gusty winds have pushed the Trail Creek fire 20 miles west of Wisdom to almost 5,400 acres. It's more than double what it was listed at just a day ago. Blaze started by lightning. Fire officials are estimating it will not be fully contained until around October 30th. More areas and trail closures in effect. You can get those details by visiting our website. Also, significant growth on the Alder Creek fire west of Wise River. The latest numbers show that fire about 1,400 acres. A Type 1 incident management team took over command of both of those fires yesterday. It's known as the Southern Area Blue Team. Blue Team has been in Montana before. Back in 2007, it managed the Pettingill fire outside of Wise River that burned thousands of acres back then. Also last year in September, the Bridger Foothills fire destroyed 68 structures, including 28 homes. It wasn't until October when the more than 8,200 acre fire was brought under control. Well, the 2021 fire season already setting records. It's only the second time the wildfire preparedness level has been this high this early in the season since 1990. Researchers are finding it's due to climate change. Dan Grossman takes a look at why this affects us all.
In these faraway parts of the country, you'll stumble across roads less traveled. Roads lined with scars of a reality Phil Higuera fears will only become more commonplace than it already has.
It's really clear now that our systems are changing and fire activity is responding very acutely to a warming climate.
In the last 2,000 years, wildfires in the high Rocky Mountains of the western United States are burning nearly twice as often as before, and they're burning more often in higher elevations that have historically been more resistant to them.
Over 70% of the total area burned since 1984 occurred last year in 2020.
Phil is the man behind those numbers.
This is our cold storage room.
Alongside PhD candidate Kira Wolf, the professor of fire ecology at the University of Montana has been studying sediment samples to observe fire activity and how it's reaching heights, both literal and figurative, like never before.
Losing all of that canopy cover leads to much hotter temperatures in the burned areas, even compared to adjacent forest. And so that can kind of exacerbate that drought stress for seedlings.
Kira just alluded to the drought from hotter temperatures, and researchers are in agreement it is directly tied to climate change. 4 of California's 5 largest fires ever burned last year, and the 3 largest in Colorado's history burned last year as well. But if you think this is only affecting those in areas most prone to these wildfires, it is not.
Millions of people who don't live in the mountains or close to where these wildfires burn can be exposed to some of the hazards that result from wildfires, and in particular, wildfire smoke.
It also has the potential to affect future generations. After millions of years of fire activity in alpine forests such as these, trees started to adapt by developing pine cones on their branches. At a certain temperature during a fire, they'll burst and drop their seeds into the ground, which will then grow into budding trees as a way to regenerate the forest. The concern is with this increased fire activity that we're seeing, new fires will burn these baby pine trees before they've had time to produce these cones, potentially wiping out forests down the road.
There's a lot of evidence that tree regeneration after fires is declining because of these stressful post-fire conditions.
Further concern points to the possible carbon dioxide emitted during these fires and the lessened number of trees to take it out of the atmosphere, leading researchers to the only possible road to reconciliation.
Climate change needs to be addressed. There's no way to really solve this wildfire problem without mitigating carbon emissions.
I'm Dan Grossman.
And of course, as our climate change scientists say, more of the country will be at risk for wildfires, including the upper Midwest and the East Coast. 6:39 now. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, staying on that same topic, a shortage of jet fuel affecting wildfires here in the West. We'll explain how when we come back. But first, let's check in with our friends at CBS This Morning to see what's coming up at 7 o'clock.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, President Biden is calling Republican efforts to restrict voting a test for our democracy. How he's hoping to jumpstart a new push for federal voting rights legislation. Also, hear from a U.S. citizen who was allegedly the target of a kidnapping plot by Iranian intelligence agents. Why prosecutors say her outspoken views of women's rights in her native Iran made her a target. And we'll visit an all-female owned brewery, how they are transforming the beer industry and living up to their mantra, great beer, better world. All that's coming up at 7.